What's up? We're gonna chitty chatty about newsletters. Buckle up. Hi, travel creators. Welcome back to another episode. I'm glad you're here with me, and a special shout out if you are new. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, I need you to come and tell me on Instagram so that we can chat about it and I can send you some of my favorite episodes because wow, you're about to dive in to something I am very passionate about for no particular reason other than the fact that it is not mainstream. And that is newsletters. And I'm bringing this topic back around because it's important, because long form content has been, I don't want to say coming back, because my analogy for long form content is that it's been the oldest sibling. And short form content is the youngest child. And youngest children often get more attention, speaking from experience. And now the youngest children are going off to college, and the parents, us/the audience, are like, oh, what's up with our oldest kid again? Where are you? You're cool. You seem cool now. You seem interesting, which is long form content. So they are now making more appearances at the dinner table, but they've really never gone anywhere, and they've really been keeping us together this whole time, as oldest siblings do. But I've been getting a lot of questions about newsletters. They've been coming up more and more and more in conversations I'm having, and so I want to sit down and talk about how you would start one right now. If you're like, wow, I would rather get stuck on the tarmac for 3 hours than think about how to write emails consistently to my audience. So you're in the right place if this feels like pulling teeth, because I'm going to make it so easy. And that's the first misconception. People think newsletters need to be something so beautiful and polished, and really it should be just as easy as sending a text message to a friend, and I'm going to show you right now how to do that. Okay, so let's talk about the basics right now. I want you to choose 4 to 5 sections. You could repeatedly yap about. What could you yap about in 4 to 5 sections? You could talk about bucket list destinations, okay? We all always have a million. There's always a million places to explore, whatever. Another one might be resources you love. Could be a podcast, could be podcasts. You're like, oh my God, I'm obsessed with the Travel Creator podcast. This has to go in my newsletter. Thank you. Wow, thank you so much. That's crazy you would even think of that. Maybe it's books. Maybe it's YouTube channel. Okay, so it's like a resource. You could always find a new resource. You could also sit down, open a Google Doc, title it resource section, and then bam, write down links to all the things you love and come back to. They don't even have to be like education related. They could be personal. Maybe you like love a YouTuber who has nothing to do with learning things and it's just like fun vlog channel. Cool. Or maybe it's like your favorite reality show that's keeping you afloat. Awesome. So think of a couple of sections you could repeatedly yap about. And I'm not saying you need to include every single one of these sections every single time you send your newsletter. I want your newsletter every time you send it to have at least 3 of these sections. And by sections, I mean a paragraph. It could be, remember, paragraphs can be at least 3 sentences long. They could be 7, 12, whatever. It doesn't have to be long at all. It could literally be a recap to your besties. What would you like recap them about if you had these specific bullet points you wanted to cover every single time you sent them a message? I would also like you to aim for it to be around 600-ish words. And I give this guideline for the reason that I don't want it to be too long. I want it to not take anyone more than 5 minutes to read. That's a lot. Asking for someone 5 minutes of someone's time, that's amazing. One of the sections I want you to always include is a section that points people to a piece of content you've already created. Maybe you are a YouTube creator. That's like your thing. You want to make sure people saw your latest work. You want to make sure they saw the latest reel you shared or the latest whatever, like the thing that you've created this past week. We want you to share that, okay? And another piece of the basic, I want you to send this on Tuesdays. Tuesdays are the best days for sending emails because Monday, people are locked in and clocked in. Tuesdays, they're kind of falling off the chain and they're like, yeah, I could just spend more time in my inbox. And then I want you to resend it on Saturdays. Okay, so resend it to unopened so that we can get the most possible people opening your email because you spent time on it. Okay, you did. And we want the most people as possible to see it. Now, let's talk about the extra little things I would tell you. Now that we've got the basics out of the way, if you're like, Laura, write my newsletter, here's what I would tell you if you were my client. So, your newsletter should be 80% of content that someone can already find on your social media, on your website, 80% of content you've already shared. And I want it to be 20% of content that is specific for your newsletter audience. Maybe it's they get the first dibs on a new offer, they get the first dibs on a group trip. Maybe it's an update that might be more personal, like where you're traveling to next, or something you want to work on, or something you are doing behind the scenes. That's the 20% of content that people subscribe for. I'm not saying that's the only reason they subscribe, but it makes them feel like they are in your circle deeper, and that's what we want. I would also tell you, please do not use MailChimp, okay? I have been working in MailChimp for years, and it has never gotten better. I'm so sorry. I am a huge Kit fan. I'm a huge pro Kit because it's not just an email sending software, it is a creator network. And it is how I get so many subscribers, just by being a part of their creator network. But before you go and like change email sending softwares, like if you are a MailChimp person, just use what you already have set up. I'm so anti another login. Like, use what you already have, and like, unless you have good reason to switch over. I also want you in your email sending software to make a template for your newsletter, so that every single week you're not going in there and starting from scratch. You just want to create a template so you can swap in and out the content. What you could even do is create 52 of those templates, one for every single week. That might sound overwhelming, but remember in the beginning when I said to pick a few sections you could yap about forever? Open your Google Doc, dump 52 travel tips in there, 52 destinations, 52 resources, and then go back to your email setting software, go to the templates, and put in one of those things every single week. And all of a sudden, you have an entire year of weekly emails to send. Now, if you are new at sending your newsletter, or you've been ignoring it for a while, I would not encourage you to send an email every single week. I want you to do something. I want this to be sustainable, and the way it's going to be sustainable is not by jumping all the way in, not by going like cold turkey. I would send it twice a month, whatever that means to you. Does it mean every other week? Does it mean I'm going to pick the first Monday and the last Monday? Whatever. I don't care. I would just get in the habit of choosing twice a month. Then you can build that muscle to send it more often. Once you have sent your newsletter and you've shared it, I want you to go on your Instagram stories and I want you to talk about what you shared in there. And I want you to make people know what they are missing out on. I want you to make them feel FOMO, and I want you to tell them what they can expect to receive. That's how you can gather one of many ways to gather more subscribers. Another tip I have for you is on subject lines. The reason people open your email is because of subject lines, unless they're like super fan, which we love. But they're not going to open your email if you have a shitty subject line. So we need to entice them as much as possible. And we're going to do that by making a crazy subject line. I don't mean super like crazy, but something that if you didn't know what you know about what's in the newsletter, would you open it? Okay, so the subject line is on one topic of what's going on in your newsletter. Your preview text is going to be something that is also related to what's in your newsletter, but not the same thing as your subject line. So let's say, for example, one of your sections in your newsletter is a bucket list destination. Maybe you'll make your subject line about that. I don't want your preview text to be about the bucket list destination. I want it to be about something else. And I also want it to be a sentence that is long enough that it runs off. So if you go into your inbox right now and you see a subject line for an email, the next words after that are called the preview text, and it might run off, meaning you might not be able to see the entire sentence. So I want you to craft a sentence that your reader won't be able to see the entire thing, but they're like, oh my gosh, what did you just say? I need to click on this and open and see what the heck you're talking about. So that's another hook you can use, is right in your preview text. Really, a newsletter is so important because it protects your community. When you are posting on social media, you are hanging out on rented land, and we all know that if we rent our properties forever, it becomes more expensive than if we own it ourselves. That's just like basic real estate rule. Same applies to social media. For example, when you post on social media, when you press share, let's say you have 1,000 followers, when you press share, there's no way to know that 1,000 people are going to see your post. 1,000 people are going to be notified that you posted. When you send an email, let's say you have 1,000 subscribers, every single one of those people are going to get a notification that you shared new content. It's going directly to their inbox. And if you do it right, it's personalized to them. You can even add personalized tags to be like, hi, Laura, hi, Marie, hi, Andrea, here's a newsletter, whatever. It's the only way we can communicate with our audience to get right in front of them in their inbox and know 100% of the time, unless their email bounces, you are getting in front of the number of subscribers/followers you have, which is just an incredibly powerful tool. So if you've been sleeping on the newsletter, I hope you take these tips to realize this doesn't have to be a big deal. This can also be fun. And the only way you're going to be sustainable at doing this is by having fun. So I want you to remove the cloud that you're living in, that this newsletter has to be a beautiful, polished thing. I think the word newsletter itself doesn't help. Like, it's a very old word. I don't know. I don't have a better word for us, but I want us to not think about it like that. Just think about it as a conversation with your besties. What would you tell them if you had bullet points you wanted to go through every single time you wanted to reach out to them? It's like structuring a voice note. Okay, put that in there. If you've been listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, my newsletter is something that has been on my back burner and I haven't put in the time or the energy, and it feels like the last thing I would rather do. Like, I'd rather sit on a tarmac and get stuck and be delayed to my destination than try and figure out a newsletter. I have some really good news for you, my friend. I have 2 open spots for newsletter one-on-one services. So consider this your sign. If your newsletter has been on your back burner and you know you need to do it, but you haven't done it, I have 2 open spots, and these are for you. I'm going to prioritize my podcast listeners when they come through. So you have until the end of February to let me know if this is something that you want, and we can voice message about it. We can get on a call and talk about it. I want to make sure this is actually something that you need and fits into your larger creator business. So go ahead and send me a message on Instagram at Travel Content Writing and tell me if this is you. And then we will take it from there and get your newsletter up and running so we can hit the ground in March with your sends. So if a newsletter has been on your back burner, take these tips, try it out. And I want to know on Instagram if you have tried this. I want you to tell me when you sent it, because I want to subscribe. I want to see it. I want to know how it's going. So let me know on Instagram at Travel Content Writing. And until then, happy newsletter writing. You got this. It's really not that deep, okay? Just like at the end of the day, you're just sending an email to people who want to hear from you. And I will see you soon.
This podcast was produced by Your Girl Media.